So Republicans in the House of Representatives may be in lockstep pretty much with Donald Trump by passing his big, beautiful bill last week. However, Republicans in the Senate are far less enthusiastic about this horrific piece of legislation. But to be clear, they're not, on the fence about it because it, takes money away from poor people to give it to the wealthy elite. They're okay with that. Like, that doesn't bug them. What bugs them, of course, is that this thing's going to add to the deficit, and every time we have a Democrat, we whine and cry about the deficit, and people are starting to notice that we're big, giant hypocrites. Because typically in the past, that is what Republicans do. They whine about the debt and the deficit when Democrats the president, and then when they get in power, they're like, deficits don't matter. They've literally said that. That is an exact quote. Unfortunately, I forget the Republican who said it. That's what happens when you got 21 years of doing this in your head. But that is a direct quote. Deficits don't matter when a Republican is in the White House. When it's a Democrat, holy hell, that's the biggest news on the planet, right? So these Republicans in the Senate are waking up to the fact that the public has woken up to the fact that they're a bunch of liars and hypocrites. So they don't want to pass this bill, which would be great. In the long run. In the short run, we could be headed towards a government shutdown. That's going to hurt the economy and definitely push us into that recession. But overall, it would prevent a lot of people from losing their food stamps, losing their health care coverage, and potentially from dying. So that's good. We don't want those things to happen. Here's what happened. Over the long weekend, you had Republican after Republican going on the weekend shows talking about how much we don't like this bill that the House Republicans have sent to us over here in the Senate. First up was Ron Johnson, who spoke to CNN's Jake Tapper, where Tapper asked him, "We're almost out of time, but I'm just wondering if you could just give me a number. How many other Republican senators do you think share your concerns and are willing to make major changes to this bill?" And Johnson just straight up responded, "I think we have enough to stop the process until the president gets serious about spending reduction and reducing the deficit." Now, Ron Johnson is a guy who probably should have been indicted along with other Trump officials for their attempts to overturn the 2020 election. Remember, he was a central player in that. So he is obviously a guy that is definitely pro-Trump. And here he was on CNN saying, listen, Trump's not serious about this. And we got the numbers to stop it. So if he wants this thing to pass, he had better come and start negotiating. In other words, they have had it with his attempts to explode the deficit. Meanwhile, over on Fox News, Republican Senator Rand Paul, who every now and then has a good thought, first he said, "I think the cuts currently in the bill are wimpy and anemic, but I still would support the bill even with wimpy and anemic cuts if they weren't going to explode the debt." Now, he's got a whole long diatribe I'm going to read for you real quick. But first, think about what he said, like the cuts. The cuts to Medicaid, the cuts to clean energy programs, the cuts to SNAP, all cuts that directly impact the lowest income Americans. He's like, those cuts are anemic. They're wimpy. We want more cuts. But, I'd still vote for it if it didn't explode the deficit. That's insane. Like, I don't like it. I don't like the cuts because the cuts aren't good enough, because we're not cutting enough from poor people. That is crazy. But then he continues, of course. "The problem is the math doesn't add up. They're going to explode the debt by, the House says, $4 trillion. The Senate's actually been talking about exploding the debt $5 trillion. This year in September, when our fiscal year ends, the deficit will be about $2.2 trillion. People used to always say, the Republicans would say, well, that's Bidenomics. That's Biden's spending levels. Well, in March, virtually every Republican other than me, voted to continue the Biden spending level, which is going to give us a $2 trillion, our deficit. Now, if you increase the debt ceiling $4 to $5 trillion, that means they're planning on $2 trillion this year and more than $2 trillion next year. That's just not conservative. People are going to wake up in about 2 months and say, how come the deficit's still $2.2 trillion? Where did the savings go? People are going to be very disappointed in conservatives, and I'm the one ringing the alarm saying they're not doing anything. They're not spending us they're not sending us, a rescission package. They're not cutting spending. Somebody has to stand up and yell, the emperor has no clothes. And everybody's falling in lockstep on this. Pass the big, beautiful bill. Don't question anything. Well, conservatives do need to stand up and have their voice heard. If we don't stand up on it, I really fear the direction the country is going. Yeah, you're probably still going to vote for it. Either that or you'll be like the one guy that doesn't vote for it on the Republican side and it'll still pass. Because even though we do have multiple Republican senators, of course, saying this is just not acceptable, Ron Johnson is on the fence. Rand Paul's calling for more cuts to social programs. Like, that's something he could probably get. But even if these two men do not get what they want, that's just two of them, Republicans still have a majority. And as we've seen in the past, even if it came down to a tie, well, who's the tiebreaker? J.D. Vance. You think he's going to vote this thing down? No. The point is, don't sit there thinking that maybe some of these Republican defectors are going to save us. They're not. Just like the Supreme Court is not going to save us. Conservatives will not save us from conservatives, folks. They're not going to emerge as the heroes. They could, absolutely. They won't. Been watching this happen for over 2 decades, reporting on it daily. It doesn't happen, ever, and likely never will. I'd love for it to, but even I can't muster that level of optimism to think that Rand Paul and Ron Johnson are going to save the country. Did you know that you might be missing out on wonderful content from me? I mean, you're here already because clearly you like what you see. So if you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video, share them with your friends and family, but also follow me across the rest of the social media world. And it's not that hard to do. Whether it's X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, on every one of those platforms, you can find me at the username @FarronBalanced. Simple enough, right? So get on it. And if you don't feel like going to each one of those outlets individually, lucky for you, we have links in the description of this video to take you right to my pages across all of social media. So don't miss a minute. And while you're at it, make sure you're also subscribed to the Ring of Fire YouTube channel, which I have been hosting for many, many years now. We've got more than 1 million subscribers over there, and there is fresh content over there every single day of the week. So again, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to this channel, and while you're at it, go subscribe to Ring of Fire at youtube.com/The Ring of Fire and @FarronBalanced across every social media platform. That, of course, is not considered just a far-right hellscape. Well, maybe Twitter is, but that's a story for a different day.